can't decide if I look more like Hannibal Lecter, Michael Myers, or Mrs. Doubtfire. Hello! Happy Friday, nerds! Hope you're having a fantastic end to your week. I don't know what you all like to do to relax on Fridays, but I enjoy pampering myself, drinking an extra cup of coffee because it doesn't matter if it keeps me up all night because I'm old, hashtag over 40. That is really difficult to do in a mask. But at any rate, in the Smith household, we always have Friday nights set aside for TV watching. During the week, we typically like to hit the gym, play a little World of Warcraft, Overwatch, Switch, watch our favorite streamers on Twitch. That rhymes. But we just like to sit around and catch up on all of our TV shows. And so on this episode of Nerd TV, we're going to talk about what all I have been watching and start a conversation about it. This video was a special request from a very, very special person to me. Since I moved away from Mississippi to Florida, we will no longer have our time together to catch up on all the shows we're watching, so we're just going to have to do it this way. This is so difficult. I guess I'm not used to talking when I wear these masks. And the mask that I am wearing this week it's a milk moisturizing mask. This was in my Christmas box I got from my family. We always do Dirty Santa, and the box that I chose had a whole bunch of face masks and little eye masks in them, along with a Barnes & Noble gift card, which I've, of course, already blown on pre-ordering Peace Talks by Jim Butcher. Hooray. Like, I know I mention that every video, but I seriously cannot wait for that book to come out. I'm about to die. This is ridiculous. So grab you a cup of tea, a cup of wine, a cup of coffee, whatever it is you like to sip on that makes you feel warm and comforted. And let's have a chat about some good old TV shows. We are currently working our way through another Doctor Who rewatch. We are on the second season of the 11th Doctor, which is Matt Smith. And I've kind of been dragging my feet on getting this one watched because this is the season where I do the most ugly crying. If you have watched this show, if you're a fan, this is the one where Amy and Rory get touched by the Weeping Angels and get sent back in time. And I mean, it's just, I know it's coming because I've already seen it several times. I'm not looking forward to it, so I'm in no rush. But I do want to get a move on because I do want to watch Jodie Whittaker's seasons as the female doctor, the first female doctor. I could give a rat's tail about Capaldi. I'm going to skip his. Like, he had no cohesive story throughout his season like David Tennant and Matt Smith. Matt Smith and David Tennant had an elaborate story that connected every episode in every season. Like, every show contributed to an amazing story that just came full circle. Capaldi, nothing. None of that. None of those shows made any sense. None of them. They were all standalones. You could have watched them in any order. It just sucked. I was so disappointed. So I'm hoping that Jodie Whittaker can bring that back around and bring the magic back. I am a fan of hers. I saw her in Broadchurch and really enjoyed her, so I think she's going to do really well. So I'm excited to see what she does. As I've mentioned previously, I'm on my third rewatch of The Vampire Diaries, and I finally got to the part where the originals have split off and started their own show, so I'm going to incorporate that so I can get the full story. I also recently watched the season 1 and 2 of the Shannara Chronicles on Netflix, but I have a dedicated video to that series, so I won't talk about that because you can go watch that video if you're interested. Ink Master and Ink Master Redemption. I'm caught up current on Ink Master and Ink Master Redemption. We just binge watched all of those. So we've gotten through all of those and caught up current. I don't know if there's another season of that going to come out or not, but of course we'll watch it because I like anything that has to do with Ink Master. Ink Master's Angels, I didn't really get into as much, but the other two, addicted. But I'll talk more on those. They're going to have a dedicated video because someone else also requested I talk about my ink. So on deck is You Season 2. I haven't started watching it yet, so I'm behind because I finally talked my husband into binge watching Season 1. So we're going to watch Season 2 together. So I'm really excited to see what they're going to do with this season. Okay, one that I'm super stoked about, Sex Education Season 2. This show is hilarious. It is about British high school teenagers, and I'm sorry, the Brits cannot make a bad TV show. I mean, come on. Benedict Cumberbatch with Sherlock Holmes. We've got Doctor Who, Broadchurch. I mean, seriously, they just can't mess anything up. This is no exception. We've only watched a couple episodes, but episode 1, I mean, it just picked up where the first season left off. We laughed out loud the entire first episode. But this show follows a group of British high school students as they hilariously explore and discover their sexuality. All the joys, all the frustrations, pun intended, that go along with it. It's fantastic. As far as another reality TV show that I enjoy, America's Got Talent. The Champions is currently on right now. It's a much shorter season than the regular America's Got Talent, but this is the only one that's on that I still enjoy. You know, I did American Idol, I did The Voice, but those just got repetitious. It was the same thing over and over. The Voice especially kind of became something else than what it originally started out with, and then I just quite simply got bored. With America's Got Talent, they are constantly showcasing new things I've never seen before. I mean, of course, you get folks on there doing the same, you know, song and dance that you've seen a million times before, but there are so many times that I'm just sitting there with my mouth open and just awe. I love this show, especially since they got Terry Crews to host it. He is phenomenal. Like, this man is just, he is so full of love and positivity and encouragement, and he just encourages and loves on every contestant equally. And he is just, he's fantastic. You see him come out and you immediately smile. Before the man opens his mouth, you are already smiling because his energy is just contagious. So I love this show. And speaking of Terry Crews, Brooklyn Nine-Nine has come back on, so I am stoked for that. That show is hilarious. If you haven't seen it, it's a little cop show, obviously Brooklyn, New York. It's really funny, and you should definitely check it out. It kind of reminds me of Sirens and Scrubs, kind of that vibe. If you enjoyed those two, you will definitely enjoy Brooklyn Nine-Nine. You know, you would think a milk mask would be perfect to drink with your coffee, so if it drips in there, it's no big deal, but it can't really operate through this opening. So a couple of really interesting documentaries I've watched on Netflix are The Killer Inside, and it's the story about the Aaron Hernandez story, and Miss Americana, the story about Taylor Swift. The documentary about Aaron Hernandez, I was interested not because I'm a football fan, but because I'm interested to know why people do the things they do. Just like, you know, religion, why do people believe the way they believe? Those have always fascinated me, so I definitely, even though I'm not a football fan and I know not the first thing about football at all, well, okay, the only thing I know about football is what I saw on HBO series Ballers, and I only watched that show because it had The Rock in it, so. This documentary I'm really confused on, because normally when you watch these type of shows, you kind of understand the narrative that the writers and producers are trying to convey to you. I'm not sure what they were trying to convey. One minute they're trying to tell you Aaron Hernandez was a closeted gay man who, in his profession couldn't come out of the closet, so his sexual repression caused him to be a criminal. And then the next minute they're blaming it on CTE, which is, he would literally run into a brick wall and just keep playing. And he suffered so much damage to his brain, like his brain literally just shrunk. Now, I'm not discounting that. I mean, you cannot discount science, but do I believe CTE is something that could cause a man to become a criminal? No. Otherwise, there would be a whole lot more crime from these football players. And I haven't heard of a single case where a football player committed a crime and then they're like, oh, CTE. So I don't know what narrative they were trying to push. I don't know why they were even trying to push one in the first place. Like, what were they trying to accomplish exactly? Because it was not to shine a light on the victims and their stories, because the victims were practically forgotten about. Like, this show focused 1000% on the why he did this, not anything about these people, the victims I'm not sure, obviously we don't know. We know that he killed Odin Lloyd, who was dating his wife's or fiance's sister. And then there was a lot of muddying of the waters. So there were two that were also murdered in Boston, I believe. So it was so confusing. One second they're kind of painting it like he did it. The next they're painting it like this crook that he was kind of running around with. That was just bad news. I cannot remember his first name, but his last name was Bradley. I do not think Aaron Hernandez was gay. The fact that all of this information where his high school classmate who played football with him came out and said they had a secret relationship, I think that's pure baloney. I think that was 100% a lie. And then they had another football player who talked about how he was gay and he kept it a secret the whole time he played and how that made him feel and whatnot and what have you. And I just do not see any evidence in Aaron's life whatsoever that would have pointed to the fact that he was gay. This man had a very strong personality, and all of the footage of the telephone conversations he had, I don't think he would have had one single problem telling somebody if he was gay. He was very, very confident in himself. So no, I don't think he was gay, and I think that for some reason, this show wanted to, I can't tell if this show was trying to say he was innocent, they thought he was innocent, or if they were trying to explain why he did what he did. I mean, and if they weren't talking about CTE and they weren't talking about him being gay, well, now they're talking about his dad was abusive, his mother wasn't around. I mean, it was just, it was a whole bunch of excuses. So I think the guy was just a bad seed. He wanted to be a thug, so he was a thug. But he was a terrible thug. Literally everything he could do to incriminate himself, he did. He was on tons of video cameras. There was one where he looks like he's walking around his house with the gun, and his fiance clearly later disposed of it. I mean, he was ignorant, like bad. And so my last show that I wanted to talk about this week is the documentary about Taylor Swift, Miss Americana. I really enjoyed it. I wasn't sure if I would. If you know me personally, you know that I'm not a big Taylor Swift fan. I am a fan of her songwriting. I am not a fan of her singing. I think her singing is just meh. I love her songs when they're sung by someone else. Tyler Ward, Boyce Avenue, hell, even I Prevail did an amazing cover. I've just never been a fan of her singing. What I will say is she was the total package. She had the charisma, she had the small town girl vibe, the girl next door. She wrote her own music, she performed her own music. The shows that she put on were amazing. That to me is how you have prolonged success in the music industry. I think it 100% hinges on you being able to write your own music. So I watched this documentary because I wanted to get a little bit of a look at her life, a little bit of insight about how did she, she got into the music industry very young. And normally when children get into fame, fortune at a young age, they usually, get into substance abuse, drugs, alcohol, all that stuff. She did not, from what I understand or what I knew of her, she didn't do any of that. And she has become a very successful young woman as a result. And so I'm going to say she was smart enough to surround herself with really good people. But this documentary kind of went over a little bit about how she got her start and followed her up through the years. And it was very interesting to watch her come into her own, become an adult, when she finally decided, you know what, this is what I believe, this is what I stand for. And then she just went after it. She no longer cared to be the nice girl who just kind of said please and thank you and did whatever people told her to do. She finally put her foot down and it's like, look, I know that we're not supposed to have political views because they kept telling her, don't be like the Dixie Chicks, because she originally started in country music. So they were like, don't be the Dixie Chicks, don't be the Dixie Chicks, don't commit career suicide. And she finally just was like, you know what? They couldn't really focus on the songs that she recorded previously because of that whole battle with the first guy that she was with, which that guy's a tool. So that's caught up on what I've been watching. I'm looking forward to watching You Season 2. There's another show that came out on Netflix called Ragnarok that I'm really curious about. I still haven't seen the new Dracula series because I believe there's like 3 episodes and they're an hour and a half each. So I'm not sure if my husband wanted to watch them or not. So I kind of was waiting on him to see if he wanted to watch them together. I'm also stoked about the Wheel of Time series that Amazon is working on, although it's still like at least a year away. From what I've seen on Twitter, they have cast the characters from the books with perfection. Every single one of these the actors they cast look exactly how I would envision the characters to look from the book. I don't want to get my hopes up because y'all know I don't have a whole lot of faith in TV adaptations, but man, I hope they do this one right. I'm so stoked about it. I'm kind of interested in seeing the movie Birds of Prey, but I'm going to wait until some of my friends have gone to see it. Friends that I know have the same taste similar to mine, to see if it's worth the money, because I have a feeling it may just be a movie about Margot Robbie looking like a slut. And that's it. That's a wrap. Thanks for watching a video about what I'm watching. Comment below if you're watching any of those too. Give me your opinion. If there's something out that you're watching that you think I would like, please let me know. I'm always looking for stuff to watch. And that's it for Nerd TV, guys. Have a great weekend. See you soon.